The Joe Rogan Experience.
How difficult is it to get intelligence on what they're up to and what they're planning, what they're responsible for? Like when you're here in America, I mean, how do we do it? Like, who's over there? Like, how do they do that? How do they find out exactly what these guys are up to?
Well, a lot of it's old school human intelligence, right? So through sources. And a lot of that sourcing comes from our allies. So whether it's the Israelis or the Jordanians or the Saudis or whomever, right?
So they know someone who's on the inside, or like, how does it work?
They've got a source. They've got some recruited asset. You know, Iran's always been a tough target for us, just like North Korea is a tough target. And so we rely heavily on our liaison partners. And but oftentimes, no matter how good your signals intelligence is, right? No matter how good you are at gathering SIGINT or photo interpretation of overhead imagery, it's still, to this day, no matter how good technology gets, you can't beat having an asset, having a human who's sitting in a meeting somewhere, and then for whatever their motivation is, whatever their reason for doing it, they're cooperating with you or our liaison partners, and they're saying, well, here's what happened, or here's how that person looked, right? I mean, maybe you get signals intelligence because you're picking up, communications, and then what do you got? You got something on a piece of paper, and you're reading a transcript of a meeting. But if you've got somebody who's in that meeting and who can tell you what people looked like, or what the actual atmosphere was, or the mood, or the way that, that's invaluable, right? And so we rely a great deal on that. But you hoover up everything you can from all the various different types of intelligence capabilities. But it's a tough target. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That's why this whole nuclear weapons program with Iran has always been so difficult, right? I mean, and you talk to people and they go, well, they've got about a 12-month breakout time before they'd have a nuclear weapon. And then other people say, well, I think they got about a 3-month breakout time. Well, when you're talking about how long it's going to take them to have a nuclear weapon, you'd like to get those parameters a little closer together, right, so that you're not having a complete guess. But it's tough, and we spend a lot of time working on that. But I would say that we have tremendous allies in that region, and I know that it's fashionable nowadays to say, well, the Trump administration, we've been pushing away our allies, and they don't want to work with us, and you know what, they do, and in part because again, it's the same old story. It's in their best interest, right? So.
Is there any benefit to having someone like Trump who's very difficult to read? Because he's the kind of guy, like when Baghdadi was killed, he said he died like a dog. Like he says crazy shit, and he talks about, like, with Iran, that they might respond back with disproportionate results. Or with a disproportionate response in comparison to the initial attack.
Yeah,
or
the cultural sites. Remember that, yeah.
The 52 cultural sites. But that was so crazy, like to represent the 52 people that were kidnapped in the fucking Carter administration.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we don't really need to go with the symbolism, fellas. We could just pick some targets, but let's not pick the cultural sites.
Yeah, that seems ridiculous. Why would you do that? Those are historic.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's where I say, look, I understand why people, go, oh my God, and but at the same time, that doesn't mean you can't policies that are in place. So I always put that out there. I always say, yeah, I get it. That's ridiculous, right? And it's a self-inflicted wound, and you could argue that that most of the problems they deal with out of this White House are self-inflicted wounds because there's a lack of discipline. And so it'd be nice if the president was more buttoned up. Of course, that's not going to be the way it works. He I think, what do I know? But he firmly believes, I think, that this is why he got elected.
I think it is why he got elected.
Really?
Yeah, I think a lot of why he got elected is because he's wild. And people like it. They like it. They're like something different. They're tired of these people that sound like politicians. You hear, pick a person, Elizabeth Warren, you hear them talk, and you feel the bullshit coming out of their mouth while they're talking. You know that they're playing a role. You know that they're, with Trump, he might be arrogant, he might be crazy, he might be ridiculous, but that's him. That's that guy. I bet if you're around him all day long, he's like that. I mean, that's the thing that one of the things that people like about him. He's like that all the time. That's who he is.
Yeah.
Like, he's not he doesn't need to bullshit. He's Donald Trump. He's a fucking multi-billionaire who is now the president of the United States. So it's like he doesn't feel the need to put on an act for anybody. So when he comes out and says he died like a dog, like that's how he would talk.
Yeah. No, I think the consistency. I think you're right. There's an element of look. I'm tired. I am tired of the bullshit. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I guess what I think then is, I mean, what are the chances that you get to 20? Well, we're in 2020. Look at that. But we get down to November to the election, and people are just exhausted by it. Right. So they wanted something different. Now they've had it. Are they going to get to this point in November and get ready to vote and think, I can't take another 4 years of it, even though it's entertaining. I'm exhausted.
People don't like change. They get scared of change. And if things are going well economically, and if it turns out that this thing with Iran doesn't turn into anything disastrous by the time November rolls around, I think he's going to win in a landslide. I don't see, unless Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard get together, and then everybody goes, you know what, that would work. Like this is a real combination of people that I could get behind. Unless it's something like that where there's like some overwhelming candidate, but I don't see that. And they seem to be pushing for Elizabeth Warren. I don't see that.
Yeah.
She was a Republican most of her career, and then she became a Democrat like when she was in her late 40s.
I find maybe it's just me, but I don't see a consistent policy message there. I don't see I don't see that happening for her this go around. Maybe it'll change. Maybe you need, I don't know. But
the problem is, I feel like these people just want to be president. I feel like it's a self-aggrandizement thing. They just want to be president.
I think you could argue that about anybody in politics. So you could say that. I mean, you've met that person, right, who's in politics now, who started out by being head of the Republican or Democratic club in high school. Mm-hmm. Right, that's all they want to do. Then they're a state senator, and then they say, "Oh, am I going to run for Congress?" And you think, "What the fuck?" I mean, how? There's got to be something. The wiring's off a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's the problem, right? Anybody that wants to be president, you wouldn't want to be president.
Well, I mean, I think if you look at who they've got on the other side, right? I mean, I thought for a while well, maybe the Republicans are going to primary Trump, right? And then I realized that's a crazy ass idea. No one's ever going to do that. No one's going to get in there and
go against
stir
him?
it up with him for a primary.
Who?
Yeah,
Who?
Who?
Yeah. Who? So there's no one that stands out. Like you would need someone that already stands out. I mean, here we are in January. You would need someone that already stands out. We're talking about doing something 10 months from now. You need someone that's already in the public eye. You can't just jump to the head of the line like that. No, especially from the Republican side.
If say he wins again in 2020, got 4 years, I tell you one person I would love to see jump in. I don't think she'd ever do it, but would be Condoleezza Rice, and just super smart, good person. Terrific. I don't know, but again, I don't think that's gonna. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't know that we've.
Do you think she would run for president?
I mean, I would like to think so. I doubt it. She hasn't shown any interest in it. I think she's enjoying private life too much.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, all the shit
probably
she
too
went
smart
through
to run for.
the Iraq War and everything. She's probably like, take that, stick it up your ass. I'm gonna hang out in my ranch or whatever the fuck she's got. Don't they all have ranches? I always figure they all go to Wyoming.
Anybody who comes out of the Republican administration has got to have a ranch.
You get a ranch somewhere and you lay low. Yeah.